Coming up, what does it take to be Ipswich's Citizen and Senior Citizen of the Year? You'll meet Glen Smith and Pam Lane. Council has woken from the holiday period with the first meeting of the year held this week. There's good news for footpath dining permit holders. And there's a $500,000 commitment from Council towards making the Ipswich CBD to Springfield Central rail link a reality. It's Friday, January 29, 2021, and I'm Alan Roebuck. Welcome to Ipswich Today, which acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which it is produced and pays respects to elders past, present and emerging. This podcast is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. Community-minded residents are the glue that holds us together, especially during these tough times. Each year in January, an elite group of residents are recognised for their contributions to the well-being of our city. Glen Smith and Pam Lane are two such people who've been honoured by being named Citizen of the Year and Senior Citizen of the Year in Ipswich. Pam Lane, welcome to you as the senior.
Thank you, Alan.
If that's okay. And Glen Smith.
I've got the age to prove it.
Yeah, and Glen Smith, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much. And Pam, I'm only 2 years off senior, so, I could have gone for that in 2 years' time, so it's all right.
Very good.
Yeah.
You've both been recognised by the city and by those who put your names forward. Before we get to why, how did you feel when first contacted about your nominations? Pam, how about you go first?
Look, a friend sent me a message on Facebook and said, "Oh, congratulations." And I sort of said, "What for?" And because we don't get the QT these days, she said, "You've been nominated as Senior Citizen of the Year." So I felt very honoured. Yeah.
Glen, how did you feel when you first heard?
Well, I was much the same as Pam. Someone actually said to me, "Oh, congratulations," before I actually knew. No, I didn't. I got a letter in the mail, and then it was, I think the QT may have put them out there, and I thought, I didn't think everyone knew, but I sort of took it with a bit of a grain of salt. Oh, that's great to be nominated, but I had no idea it'd actually be the recipient winner. But yeah, I felt pretty privileged to be honoured to be nominated.
Despite all the political turmoil in recent times and, of course, almost a year of COVID, the city continues to tick over, especially volunteer organisations which feature strongly in both your lives. Glen, if I go to you first, just give us an overview of what you're involved in and Arts Connect.
Well, Arts Connect, it's all in the name. Arts Connect as in connecting the community to the art and the art to the community. But we do a lot more than that as well. Like we do a lot of charity work. We do a lot of workshops. We raise funds for charity, and we raise, so we're really involved with the community in a lot more other things. But art is always the tool. And with COVID, we used art as a way of still, keeping the community together, united. Either are you okay? So we did the big mural, the big wall hanging. We got the community involved. We did the Ipswich Remembers for Legacy. We did workshops, online workshops. We did quite a lot of things even though COVID was around, it didn't stop us. It didn't stop us at all. Yeah.
Pam Lane, your name is synonymous with health in Ipswich and West Moreton. What about the other activities you've been involved with when you were both working and now that you're retired?
I've always thought that getting back to your community, if you've been very privileged to have good jobs, is a very important part of your role. I was asked by one of the doctors many years ago to join the Ipswich Hospice. It's now a board. It's been called other things other times. And so I've served on that board for many years. But since I've been retired, I've certainly had more time to give to that, and I was secretary for a number of years. But that's a very worthwhile project, and my skills in health have allowed me to assist there. Ipswich is very fortunate to have a hospice. It's not every town has a hospice, and we have a particularly good hospice, and it's open to anyone. So I'm very fortunate to be involved and very lucky to have the skills to assist them. I'm a member of the Zonda Group, which is a women's human service group that supports women both locally and internationally. And I've been chair of the fundraising group there for many years. We were a bit challenged during COVID fundraising, but because we couldn't do the Bunnings sausage sizzle, we raffled a $1,000 voucher from Voucher, from Bunnings. And we were able to do that electronically. So that was a new thing for us. We did everything electronically, from tickets to sales, letting people know about it, and we do the draw electronically.
It is amazing. It is amazing when you think about the impact of COVID and how people have had to reinvent themselves, almost reinvent the wheel in a way.
Yeah, no, I think it's for we older people, it's been a nice challenge to use and teach people to use the technology to still connect. And as you say, Zoom meetings, not quite as good as the real thing. You can't get to have as much chit-chat, but it certainly keeps people in contact.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. If this had happened 20 years ago, we would have been much more isolated, I feel. What do you think, Glenn?
No, that's true. I mean, I think with this social media today, it really does make a big difference to how we organise and do things. As I said, there's so many workshops and craft things and theatre and everything online that you didn't feel isolated, and it did. Some people just can't handle that isolation. It does, cause depression and everything. And I think, luckily, with the social media and Zoom and all those wonderful things, it did actually probably, make life a lot easier during that time of isolation and lockdown. And so we had to learn how to do things differently, and I think most of us got through it. I still struggle with computer technology, but you got to move with the times.
Like any city or town, there's much more to Ipswich than what we see in the headlines. There's a wonderful community ready to help and a real sense of place and belonging. Glenn, when did you first arrive in Ipswich, and how did you find your initial welcome?
Look, I came to Ipswich purely because I wanted a Queenslander, and where else can you find a Queenslander for a quarter of the price in Brisbane? So I have to admit, my first contact with Ipswich was purely personal. But since I've been here, I got into the art scene and I met some amazing people, and I never realised how fantastic a community Ipswich is, and I've actually grown to love this town so much. I've been here about 16 years, and the last 10 years I've been very heavily involved with community. And I've never I've never lived anywhere else where the community is just so giving, accepting and understanding. And coming from a minority group myself, I just can't believe how this town is so open to everybody. I mean, obviously there's a few flies in the ointment, but generally speaking, this town's awesome. Yeah.
Pam Lane, do you have a similar view? You came here through the health sector.
I came here in 1993 as the Director of Nursing at Ipswich Hospital, and I discovered very quickly that it was a town with a great sense of history, and the people who welcomed me to the hospital gave me all the history of the hospital and the various people who worked there. I also found that I saw people kept returning to Ipswich, so I soon discovered Ipswich was a well-kept secret. People kept coming back, so that had to be a good thing. And so people said, when I came here, people said to me, "Oh, where do you live?" I said, "Oh, I live in Eastern Heights." They said, "Oh, you don't come from Brisbane?" I said, "No, I like to live where I work. I don't want to sit in a car all that time." And I think here in healthcare, it's very important that you live in the town where you work.
Three of us are agreed on that point. Back to the awards presentation. When the time came to announce the category winners and your names are the ones called out, can you remember how you were feeling at the time? Over to you first, Pam.
I was very pleasantly surprised and very honoured, I must admit. I think I had a big smile on my face. And my sister was in the audience, so I had two friends, my sister and Kath with me, so that was lovely.
And what about you, Glenn?
Well, I have to admit, when I saw the list of nominees, I didn't have me even down as the top three or top four. I was just ecstatic to be one of the finalists. But when they actually called my name, I have to admit, I took a double take thinking, are you sure? Did you get it right? But yeah, look, I couldn't be any more over the moon, thrilled and honoured to be part of it. And, to be upstage with there's some amazing people up on that stage who do some amazing things for Ipswich. As I said, the community here is fantastic. So, yeah, I'm still on cloud nine. I'm still trying to, think, is this a dream? Is this real? But yeah, no, it's just so honoured to have this award.
Having met both you, Pam, and yourself, Glenn, in my previous roles, you are two absolute well-deserved winners, and I want to give you my personal congratulations and a great choice from the judges. And thank you so much for joining me on Ipswich Today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks very much. Lovely.
From Council's ordinary meeting held January 28, Ipswich City Council has approved footpath dining licence operators be refunded fees already paid for 2020-2021, and no further fees will be charged in the 2021 year. Expressions of interest will be called for the operation of a cinema complex in the Nicholas Street precinct. Council resolved to proceed down this path to either manage or lease the cinema tenancy on the corner of Brisbane and Ellenborough Streets. This had previously been flagged by Council to be one of the anchor tenants in the CBD redevelopment. It will allow Council to identify potential contractors who are serious contenders for the provision of management and operations of a cinema complex without putting all the contenders to the expense of preparing a full tender in the initial stages. At the January Council meeting, councillors were also given a significant update on the overall redevelopment from Council's project manager, Greg Thomas.
The civic project budget remains ahead of the budget and schedule. The interior and exterior works are continuing on the administration building. If you've been down there lately, you'll note the beautiful looking feature column which faces Nicholas Street has been finalised. Practical completion remains mid-April, with occupation by council staff likely from June. Good news is the relighting of the car park levels 3 to 6 has now been finished. We're just looking to adjust the lighting on B1 and B2. There's got auto sensors at the moment, so we're looking to actually remove those. Sometimes it's a bit dark before they actually get triggered, so we're looking to actually put that on full manual. The Commonwealth Hotel, if you've also been down and had a look lately, it's really starting to take shape. Next week is a significant week with the facade pieces being lifted on. This is a facade that faces Union Place. So it might be worthwhile to have a look or a story on that, because it's going to be quite an interesting challenge for the builder. Bottle Alley. So next week we should get the detailed cost report and program report, which will give all the options and the timings and the cost to actually allow for a decision to be made on the options for improving that access from Ellenborough Street into Nicholas Street.
Deputy Mayor Marnie Doyle.
We've had, and this is, I guess, along the lines of what the concern that Councillor Ireland raised with regard to lighting of the building. It's been lit up on every floor over several weeks. Residents were asking, not only for environmental reasons, but I guess the impact on the public of it being completely lit up. Now, my understanding is that until the building is completely commissioned, I guess, from an electrical point of view, we are unable to moderate the lights on individual floors. Is that correct? And
I'd have to take that on notice.
Okay.
I don't know the specifics about the lighting protocol.
I do note there's the lighting of the entire building is no longer occurring, and it is on individual floors. So I assume we've moved further enough through the electrical work for that to happen.
Yes, I'll provide confirmation in next month's report.
Thank you. Our residents are always watching eagerly. Everyone's very excited about this. Can I ask about opportunities for public art spaces? Have they been identified within the precinct yet? I know I've had quite a few discussions with council officers, and their commitment is that they will be identified, the opportunities, and we will go out to our art community to see who's interested.
Yep. Okay, so my response would be to that. I don't know the specifics of that issue either, so I'll come back to you in the report next month with a detailed
that would be great
program and how we might approach that.
Perfect.
Ipswich City Council has committed $500,000 to the Ipswich Central Springfield Central rail options analysis, provided the Australian Government matches the $1 million commitment already made by the Queensland Government. Councillor Jacob Madsen moved and spoke to the motion.
This rail line is so vital to the future of our city. I mean, we're looking at a new planning scheme will come in during this term. It's well documented that the level of certainty in investment that governments offer can help to shape the development that happens along a proposed corridor like this. We really have to be on the front foot on it, because we're competing with other local governments that want their own rail projects in southeast Queensland. To me, it's a no-brainer. I'd highlight that it's subject to the federal government making a commitment of $1 million. So it's the intention is to make a statement and a commitment of will, more so than expenditure. It's very similar to some commitments that we saw at last year's state election, where they announced the commitment, but no real detail on when it was funded, because at the end of the day here, we are waiting to see if the federal government will come to the table. They previously haven't committed to things. I believe that we funded the entirety of the first round of the business case, which we very much took off the table as a cudgel and went to the state election and said, this project's great, people should get on board. And with that regard, I look forward to getting on board the train and utilising this rail line sooner rather than later. It's one of those projects where the best day to start building it is today. And if we can't do it today, tomorrow, and then every other day after. Councillor Ireland and I have encountered many members of our community along this proposed rail line that frankly they already need the other levels of government to step up and invest in public transport. The southern part of Redbank Plains needs this rail line. Ripley needs this rail line. Deebing Heights needs this rail line. And I'm more than happy to stake my flag in the ground and say I think this is the number one project for our city, and I will do whatever I can to ensure that this is built sooner rather than later.
Councillor Paul Tully strongly supported the proposed rail link.
I think this is, as has been described, a real no-brainer that the rail line currently to Springfield Central is urgently in need of extension. We're talking about the Springfield region, as I mentioned before, of 90,000, the Ripley Valley, ultimately 120,000 and possibly more. The popularity of the rail is evidenced by the fact that a major parking station is being built at Springfield Central at the moment, near the railway station, adjacent to the Centenary Highway. It means that people are travelling along the current connection from Ripley Valley in particular, and from other suburbs, even people coming from places such as Greenbank. We really need to make this a major number one priority. I recall about 3, possibly 4 years ago, the state government indicated at the time, and it was published in the Queensland Times, that this could be, the reality of this, of Springfield Central to the Ripley Valley, could be a 30-year time horizon. I remember when the Redcliffe rail was finally built, that people went back through Trove on, through the National Library's newspaper clippings and found that had been promised by governments back to the 1870s. So, we can't afford to do that. We need an improved rail system, one that's reliable, and this is not just a flash in the pan and saying that we want to spend community money at any level of government just because we think it's a good idea. If they want to encourage people to use the rail, it needs to go where communities are living. And as the fact, as I said, the parking station is being built now, we know the problems which are under the government's undertaking are being improved on the Centenary Highway heading into Brisbane, the hold-ups each morning at the Logan motorway. If we don't get this happening, we are going to find more and more problems. And I agree with Councillor Madsen, this probably is our number one priority in the city, because this will help not just current generations, but future generations. There's nothing worse. Roads tend to be built years after they're needed. Railway lines tend to be built years after they're needed. Let's make sure that we're not going to wait 130 years for this development.
Council approved almost $2 million to repair a 170-metre section of North Station Road, including a 7-metre high retaining wall, also known as a crib wall, adjacent to the Bremer River. The condition of the wall has deteriorated since the 2011 flood. Council's Head of Infrastructure and Environment, Charlie Dill, responded to Deputy Mayor Marnie Doyle.
Can I ask, aside from costs, Mr Dill, why has it taken so long for this piece of work to occur? Because this is directly as a result of the 2011 floods, is that correct?
I'm not sure if it's a direct result, probably a contributing factor. I believe due to the nature of the infrastructure, the existing infrastructure and the sensitivity of it, there has been challenges around procuring, getting the design correct and procuring the correct contractor to undertake the work.
Okay.
as far as the contributing factors and how much 2011 contributed, couldn't really say.
Okay, thank you.
And a reminder, if you drive the Wulkaraka Connection Road at morning and afternoon school drop-off and pick-up times, a new reduced speed limit of 60 kilometres per hour now applies. Signs are now in place, so don't get caught. Ipswich Today is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. This podcast is also listener-supported. Please make a once-only gift or regular donation to help keep it online. Just go to ipswichtoday.com.au and click the donate button at the bottom of the page. You can subscribe for free and share this podcast from your favourite app, including iHeartRadio, or play Ipswich Today from your smart speaker. Music is supplied by Purple Planet Music. This is Alan Roebuck. Thanks for listening.